All right, so we are going to start off by looking at a lot of the built-in slides or reports that are available now in the Smart Reporting tool. And there's not just reports, they actually include a lot of different kinds of abilities in these smart reports, like widgets, filters, being able to see charts, and then of course a nice detailed grid of your data. We are going to take a look at how you can actually copy some of these built-in slides and do minor modifications to them to the best of your abilities, and also how we can build a slide right from scratch today. We'll take a look at that briefly. We're not going to get a chance to do any extensive modifications to slides, but we'll get you going, give you the ability to see if you have the feature or the talent to do that kind of thing. And we also have our development team that's available to do any customization if you need it. Last but not least, after we look at these reports, I'm going to show you how you can automatically set them up to be scheduled to send out by email to your team at your location. So let's get going. Okay, so I am here in PSA Web, and if you have signed up for the Smart Reporting feature, it is something that does need to be ordered, and it is available on your toolbar once you have it set up. And I'm going to click on the Smart Reporting. So the list that will come up includes a list of different reports, and you can see here the report type is built in, so we are going to be looking at that initially, of just the standard built-in reports that come with PSA Web. Okay, so we're going to start off by looking at some of the overview screens that include a lot of details. So we have, again, several. I'm going to start with the job company overview. So you will see a view button over on the right-hand side. We're going to open the standard report up to show you. If you haven't seen this before, get ready. Voila. Here is our job company overview. Give everybody a second just to take a look at what you're seeing here. Okay, so let's explain everything that you have available now in this particular. Again, the terminology that we're using is that this isn't really a report, because a report would be just kind of a list of information. We're calling this a slide. So I may be referring to it as a slide, just so you're understanding what I'm referring to. And we have a lot of different pieces of information here. So in the top left area, you see our date ranges. So that's kind of the filtered dates for this report that we're looking at. And dates are primarily a filter field that's available for almost all the reports. And it is good to just know which date range is the job date to know what's feeding this particular report. So with the job company overview, the dates that are used are the created date, when that job was created inside of PSA, okay? Across the left-hand side going down, you see location, job type, referrer, and PM. So those are different filters that we can use on this overview screen. And to the right area where we see all those lovely numbers, we've got our total jobs for this particular range of dates, open. So all of our features there that just give us, at a glance, quick information on our jobs in our system. So this area is called the widgets, and we have two rows there of widgets that are basically calculations of the job information being displayed here. We also have on the screen a couple of different charts. So you can see the big one in the middle is the jobs by type. And then we have another smaller one over here for those of you that are really wanting to track the commercial versus your residential or other building types that you may be using, could be presented there as well. Okay. And last but not least, at the bottom, we have our actual detail data grid. And this is the listing of the actual jobs that are meeting whatever criteria that we've got set at this particular moment in time. So this slide is going to be able to be updated with whatever we go and change a filter to, and it'll refresh that screen with that information. Okay, so let's go up and take a look at maybe the filters here now. So we have, at this moment in time, we have a variety of different locations set here. Okay, so we're going to go in here and we're going to pick New York. Okay, so in the New York location, we can see our information's been filtered now to only reflect the jobs that are in that area. And our grid at the bottom, you can see, has reduced to show us just that particular filter. You can, in each individual filter, you notice when I picked New York that there were several other filter areas that became kind of a shaded gray color. So that is because if there are no other jobs, so in the job type, for example, there are only administration, carpet cleaning, cleaning, and exterior job types available. The ones that are grayed out means that there are no jobs of that type for the New York location. Okay. If I was interested in really just looking at the cleaning items, I can set an additional filter just for the carpet cleaning. And if I wanted to, so you can set that. And let me just say I didn't want to do that. So let's just take a look at these little tiny options in the header of the job type. And that little one that looks like an eraser is the clear. Okay. And so we can see here again, we have multiple options. Okay. I am going to show you now, if I just click on the cleaning and also, so you can select multiple options in your areas by using the control key when you click onto the option. So when I pressed the control and selected the carpet cleaning, I was able to show those two. So you have that ability to select multiple options within your filter areas. Okay. The other filter options are below here. Okay. Now, if we decided we didn't want to have any of these filters set, there is an option set up on this company overview to clear all. So I'm just going to see where I'm highlighting here. I'm going to press the clear. And now we can see we're right back to all of the options without any filters set. Okay. The back, just to explain what the back button does, is if you had set 4 or 5 filters in a row, back would let you just go back one at a time. Okay. In our grid at the bottom, you do have the ability, you can see that it's showing us only a set amount of space. So when each one of these slides, or in the future any slides or reports you're making, there is a size of the area in which it's trying to make everything fit into and be arranged. So there you will see, if you have a lot of data results from your filters, that you may need to use your arrow keys just to move on to the other pages. Okay. You can also, if you slide your mouse over top of the column heading, you'll see arrows, so you can do ascending and descending order as well. Okay, so let's go back up and just look at these widgets for a second. So these little different calculations of how many jobs we have. If I were to slide my mouse over top of these widgets, I do have, let me just going to go back out here just for a second. So I've just gone up. I'm reloading the report up here. And okay, so I want to just have you watch my mouse pointer for a second. When I get over top of these numbers, and my arrow turns into a little pointer hand, as most of you may know this means there's a link underneath this number. So when these slides were created, you actually have the ability to set up a link to the information that is presented on the screen, and it can call another report up. So if I slid over here and I was looking at my cost to date, and just in case anybody of you are actually looking at these numbers, this is just a demo database that Ryan uses. So I think maybe these guys need to do some invoicing here if their actual revenue is only 57,000. Anyways, so in this cost to date that we have here, we see 31,000 of costs. And if we want to drill in to see a little more detail on that, we're going to click. And that has been set up and programmed to automatically open up another report that's going to give me the breakdown of that detail that I just clicked on. And here we are. So we can see the breakdown in the information at the bottom. And we've got more filters over on the left. And we have, again, a date range that we would want to go down. I think maybe the date range here is a little bit different than the other number I have on the other screen. But the whole idea here is that you can create a report, and then you can link that report from your main slide screen if you choose to. Okay. You may also just come right into that report. So we'll take a look at that in a minute when we get back out to the report listing. Okay, so across the very top left of our overview screen, we have a little tiny mini toolbar, and we have the ability here to go in here. I'm just going to show you a few of them. We have an option to export. So this would give you the ability to export this out to a PDF. You can also save it out to Excel if you want to, but you may want to just be using the system to generate the report. But if you needed it in Excel, you could. Okay. And we have the option to print this. And the printing would basically be exactly everything that you're seeing on the screen and all of the data as well. Okay. We have here a little filter button. And this is giving you the ability to see what the query for this screen right now is set to. So this is a helpful one for myself. I found that some of the different slides have these different dates, and a few of them are set based on the created date of when the job was entered into PSA, and others are using the received date. So this little button up here on the status bar does show you which date is set for this report. Okay, so that might be helpful for you to see. Okay. And of course, there is an actual filter button as well. So once you are, if you're a person who wants to get into doing some additional formatting or changes to reports, which you can do to a copy, you do have the ability to come in here and create filters from that spot. Okay, the other option that's available on the toolbar at the top at this point in time is, because remember, we're just looking at a built-in report. So once you are actually creating or editing a report that you're allowed to edit, then you will have more options displayed up here. This little guy here is the ability to, this is where we actually can send this off by email right now, a PDF of this immediately, or we can get set up for doing a schedule, which I'll show you afterwards. We'll schedule one of our reports, okay? All right, the last little option that's available here is if one of your companies is using, if you've got data that's been in PSA for quite a few years, and you have a fairly large database, if you're going to be working with the data, you may want to change this data just to pull in a set number of records while you're working with it initially, and rather than pulling and refreshing every time with a full set of data until your report's finalized. So you have a few options there for our customers with large databases. Okay, so now we've kind of talked about all the areas of the screen so far that you can see, but there's an area that you can't see that I'm going to show you now. So if I were to go over to the very left-hand side, there's two little arrow keys that expand out, and it opens up another area of filtering options. And because the screen has been adjusted, it has moved my filter field across the top now, but everything is still here. That is a part of that slide. Okay, so it's just all a little bit lower down. Okay, so what we can see over here on the left is an option to add a filter. Okay, so this is where I would be recommending if you were wanting to do something. Again, what we're doing here now is not going to be saved. It's just something that we could do if we just wanted to do kind of an inquiry on something based on a filter. Okay, so let's say I'm looking at all these, and I just was curious. I just wanted to see more details on the jobs that were not just from created, but maybe approved at this point in time. So let me show you how I would do that. I'm going to click the little plus sign to add a filter, and you're going to see that I get all of the available fields that are in this particular data source for the company overview, the job company overview that we're in. So if I go down, I'm just going to go slow so you can kind of see. I would be able to do any filters that I would want for this. There's a bunch of dates. I've got my details. It's great that we can have access to all these fields now for creating and modifying reports. Okay, so if I said I wanted just to look at approved jobs, I'm going to put a check here on the stage of approved, click OK. And now I do have, coming up on the left, again, the wording here isn't ideal, but 0 means not approved, 1 means approved. So if I clicked on the 1 right now, my total jobs should change down. I just went from 136 total jobs to 5. So that is reflecting my approved jobs. And then I would see at the bottom, my data is just showing the approved. Okay, now I can collapse back using the little arrow at the top. I can just make that go back if I wanted to review this with the screen looking a little more set up here. And that's how you can set a filter. Again, when I go back to my list, nothing is changing, but it does give you a few little options here if you wanted to do that using that filter option. Okay. The top section here, that's parameters, is showing you your dates. So you do have the option of either editing them in here, or you can just use this particular report has the date set up in here as well for you to use. Okay, so that is the job company overview slide. Okay, so again, you'll see a lot of these names here. A lot of these estimated costs, estimated revenues, those were all reports that could have been called by clicking onto the widget item for that item to bring up the detail of it. I would like to go down to the next kind of slide that has job financial dashboard is what it's called. So I'm going to click view here. And this is going to give us a little more detail on the financials and do comparisons, the amount of increase or decrease in the numbers in the reporting period. So I'm going to just change these dates back to dates that Brian has data in for our presentation today. So let's just do that date range there. Okay, so this is again going to have widgets across the top and filters down the left. You can see there's different widgets across the top now with showing the change in the period compared to the previous, and still building here. There we go. So we can see a lot of kind of comparisons here with our different, even the stages of the jobs that they've received in this particular period. Again, that was a couple of years there, but how many jobs have been received in that particular period, and then the total as well. The grid has been presented a little in a different format here as well. Let's take a look down here at our detailed data grid. It's been set up to give us kind of a report based on the project manager and the job type, how they have done with that particular type of job in this reporting period. So in the first column under carpet cleaning, we have a project manager called Demo User 6, and they had one job and the target was 10% and they had 0 in there. So we don't have great value in there at the moment, but you get the idea. Actually, under emergency water, it looks like there was no PM in that top row, and we've got some numbers showing there that they did very well on their gross margin when their target was 60. So again, that report will pull your information in automatically in your companies to give you those kind of stats. Okay, I'm going to go back out here. And the last big slide that I want to show you is a fairly new recent one called the PC dashboard, so the Project Coordinator dashboard. The other built-in reports that start with PC are all the sub-reports that feed into that. Is it coming up? Let's see here. Maybe I didn't click it hard enough. Let me try that again. Okay, so we have, again, a range of dates, and I'm just going to use those to start with. Now, not everyone may have this report at this moment in time on your smart reporting, but I understand it will be available to everyone that has smart reporting early next week. I'm not sure if it's going to be Monday, but it will be released. So it's a really recent report that Ryan has just presented. If some of you were in the training session that we had, it was just created and it's going to be released fairly soon. So just stay tuned for this to join your listing of smart reports. Okay, so smart reporting here. Now this is pretty well the same as the company overview, but again, based on the criteria that you set in your filters, we've got 4 really awesome links here. And again, this is called the Project Coordinator dashboard, meaning so the person who is in a lot of the companies having to track a lot of the reports and know the that things are being done by, maybe they're keeping the project managers and the estimators, they're kind of coordinating all of that information. But this could be used by whoever the people are that are monitoring this in your jobs, in your company. So let's take a look here. So if we go into the job audit link, that's going to open up one of those other sub-reports that is available just from the reports listing. And it is going to, yeah, it's coming up here. All right. So this is going to be just a nicely laid out screen that is going to show us the stages of the jobs. Okay, so again, based on the criteria of the reports that we have come into this screen with, we have just a good little overview here of the dates that we would want to be monitoring, costs, certificate of completion. So there's some different dates, the invoiced amount. So again, just so it's pulled together by some people that, so this is some key information that project coordinators are typically looking for. And it has been, you notice that there's a couple of red cells here. So the red cells have been set up. It's called the conditional formatting option. And those of you that have been using Excel maybe in past, you know that you could set conditional formatting up. So this is basically saying that with this particular job, there is a missing estimated revenue, but the job has started. We shouldn't be having a job in the system that started without having an estimated revenue in there. So that's just an obviously field, a blank field that needs to be populated. Okay, so that's some key visuals that can be added to these different reports as you deem necessary, and a quick way to know that some data has to get added into your jobs. So again, I'm gonna, if you hit the orange back to list, you get back out to the screen. So we're gonna go in here to the back arrow, and that takes us back to the main slide that we came from. Okay, now I won't have time to go through all of these different report options right now, but the referrals are, again, another, just it shows all the summary of the referral sources, companies or contacts that the jobs came in from. And the benchmark is showing kind of the performance of the amount of days between the different stages of the jobs, and how long it took before the estimate was created, or how many days it took for a job to get paid. So that's all in kind of performance of times. And the communication link is one that does come up basically if you have structures in place that you need to make sure that there's a follow-up done to your customer through job notes. The communication gives you a listing of all the notes and how many days since the last note was added to the job. So another really interesting report. So those are all of the main links that are added here for this new project coordinator dashboard report. Okay. All right. So now, if we had decided we wanted to make a copy of one of the reports, I'm just going to take off the filter at the top here. There is a copy button over on the right-hand side. So if I had opened up or I wanted to make a copy of the aging report, for example, I could click the copy button, and then I would be able to give it a name. So here you can go ahead and you can give your report a name, and then that will get saved out, and then you will be able to, at that point, to be able to, so I'm going to just open up that copy of the aging report, and I will show you. So again, first step if you want to make a change is to do the copy, and then you open the report up. And the one thing that's going to be different now that you're working on a copy is that you are going to see in the top right-hand corner the mode that you're looking at right now. So the default when we first come in is to be in view mode. Toggling that to edit mode now gives us the ability to get in and actually make some changes to the report that we have made the copy of. Okay. So when we do get in here, we're going to see over on the left-hand side the data source that was used when this particular report was created by Can-Am. And you can see by the check marks which ones are in your grid down at the bottom. So again, if I wanted to make a change and I decided I wanted to have, let's go down here. Let's say I took off the job name. I'll take off the, I'm just going to show you the change. So I'm just going to select that. And actually, no, sorry. I'm going to do that a little bit differently. All of the data, so remember the options across the top of the screen are filters. So in this particular report, they're across the top, but they are those filter features that we looked up before. The grid, though, is the actual data that has been set up to feed the base underlying report. So whenever you're in the section here at the bottom, there is a little tiny option here that is going to allow us to edit the entire table. So I just did a right mouse click on that little tiny table button, and in the wizard is where we would be able to go and see the field. So I was just showing you over there on the left before, but this is actually where you would need to go to if you wanted to take a field and you wanted to move it back, or you wanted to add a new field. So we have company name, job name. So if I wanted to actually show, maybe we wanted to include the page. So by clicking on any field on the left that you want to add, you just use your arrow key in the middle, and that will move that over to the right-hand side. And then you can use your arrow keys to move it up. Okay, so you can add additional information on there at that time. While I'm in here, I also wanted to show you that if you go over, so this is the detail grid in the wizard, but in the summary, you have an option to, if there are anything in there that we want to do a sum, you can add a sum over into the area of the report as well. So again, we won't get into too much, we haven't got time to do the detail of this, but from the wizard, you can set up other aggregates, which are basically calculations. And then by coming into the wizard, you can simply add them over, tell them where you want them to appear and under which column. And that's automatically now going to add that on to the footer of that report, the footer of the column. So you can see here, this is what I just added here. There's also another total, I think, that was added into the standard report. So that's how that got added right there. Okay, so that's doing just a simple little change. Key thing though, if you've done an edit and you like what you did, you can notice that we do have a lot more options across the top now. One of them is the save. Before you would go out of this screen to switch either back to view, you must save or your changes will be lost, okay? And there again, there are more options here across the top now that we're in this edit mode. And again, if you're going to be doing a little bit of design work, training can be arranged to show you some more of these features at that time. So I just saved it, and I'm going to flip back to view mode. And we should have, let's just refresh that screen here. Go back into my copy. And we had quite a bit of information that we're covering today. Invoice total. Okay, now I'm not sure. That invoice total should have been at the bottom there. Maybe I didn't click the OK there on that, but that's the steps of how that should have been done. Okay, all right. So far what I've done is I've shown you the overview of some of the key dashboards of slides that we made, or that Canem has made. I've shown you how to copy, and we just did an edit and a quick save. There also is a create. So this is the last thing I just want to show you briefly. We won't have a chance to really do much with this at this time, but we hit the create button, and this is where you can start that report right from scratch. And I did want, just so some of you that needed to know this, we get to then choose the data source that you want to build your actual report for. So you could go in to pick the actual items that you would want. So you would just put check marks in on the actual. So let's just say I just picked a job name and a job number. I've just picked 3 basic fields here and picked OK, clicked OK. And you would then get this information coming up, and you would be able to then add the additional information. So this is just the basics of getting this, and then you can add filters and sorting options, and obviously set up your report title. So that's just the create button, and then you'll have all of the different PSA web databases to pull information and create your own reports. Okay. Okay. If one of the buttons across the top here, I just showed you that create button. The refresh button on here is if you have made a copy and you saved it, you may have to hit this refresh for the brand new copy to show up on the screen here. And the clear filters, obviously this clears our filters. Okay, so that is everything that I wanted to show you in our presentation today. I do see that there are questions in the chat window. So let me just start here at the first one. Okay. So Monty is saying, when I hover over revenue, it has the same issue when you were doing the demo, no link available. Okay. So the link, again, I think you were talking about the first slide that we were looking at, which was the, let me just set the filter here just for the built-ins. And we were looking at the job company overview, which is where we've got, if, again, I just went and restarted the report again. I'm not sure why there was no links there, if that's what you're referring to, Monty, but make sure that you, again, are using a Chrome browser. They are the recommended, that is the recommended browser. And so again, there should be a link in there. If you don't have that on that particular, make sure that you've got data in the date ranges. And if not, just maybe send us in an email and we can see if there's something happening with your database. Okay. The next question is, the lag time seems to be an issue with populating the information. Okay, so that's from Taylor. And Taylor, I think your database is a fairly large one. So I'm not sure if there is anything, I can ask about this particular question to see if, again, the lag time is probably due to the size. And if you have the ability to maybe set up your partial data, just if it's during the time that you're actually doing the setup. Okay, is there anyone else? I don't know if, Ryan, are you on there that you could speak to that, or?
You just talk.
Okay. Oh.
Marianne, I don't know if you can hear Scott.
Yeah, I do. Hi, Scott.
Oh, how are you? Good afternoon, everyone. I think on the, just to go back to the lag time, people need to understand that this is not a report, that this is a live piece of data. So as things are happening in your system, the system is checking in real time. And depending on how large your database is will depend on the lag time. How many records, what you're querying on it, all are dependent on that. So it will be different for everybody. Although it's coming off the same set of servers that we have, it's checking a different set of data for everyone. Again, it depends on how you build the report. In some cases, it could be also a query that's built in the background. So if you have reports or smart slides that seem to run slow, certainly support can help you. If they can help and go into the actual back end of the query and maybe optimize those queries to get the report to function a little bit quicker. I don't know if that helps out at all.
Okay, thanks, Scott.
You're welcome.
Okay, the next question is from Claudia. She's asking, report names and titles are not displayed. So we don't know which report we are looking at.
Marianne, let me just jump in again. So it's right where you are now. It's not displaying the report name. And we had this discussion actually in a production meeting 2 weeks ago. We're going to put that up on where it says smart reporting. It'll that you'll actually start to see the report name. So that's coming in a future version, probably whatever the next smart release is.
Oh, excellent. Okay, that's great news. That was something I was asking about as well. Okay, wonderful. Okay, next question. What was the name of the report I showed prior to the PC dashboard? That one was the job financial dashboard. Okay. All right, and the next question I have is, when I copy a report and save it, the new report does not show up on my menu. Okay, and that was that refresh button that I had mentioned. There's a blue button right beside the create when you finish saving it. Click on that and it will show up on your list. And you may need to go to the last page of them, but you will be able, it will be on that list now. Okay, right, and let's see. Okay, I do not have any other questions in the queue. So I thank everyone for attending today, and have a great afternoon.